Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today to moderate this eminent panel, and assalamu alaikum. So thank you very much, Shokran, for the invitation. And we're going to dive straight into it. You know our names, you know who we are and which organisations we're representing. So thank you once again to Cityscape Global for the invitation, but I do want to get right into the centre of the issue now. And I'm going to start with you, Maite. You're from La Liga. Welcome. You're managing MENA for the MENA region, so you didn't come from far. Focusing on the economic side, La Liga is arguably, I'm from the UK, so I might argue slightly, but you're arguably one of the most successful leagues in the whole planet from a commercial and both a sporting perspective. What's your recipe for success?
Thank you very much, Katie, for the invitation, and it's an honor to be here speaking on behalf of La Liga. So I think one of the key elements for the success of La Liga over the last 10 years has been the international expansion that we have developed. We started back in 2017, understanding that if we wanted to grow more, it was necessary to go outside of Spain, let's say. So we started step by step to open international offices. Right now we have 10 international offices and more than 70 people employed by La Liga working in more than 35 countries. So I think this has been very key to increase the value of our brand, meaning to be closer to our fans, to our broadcasters, our partners, increasing the interest for our competition, and I think that's been really, really important. On the sports side, I think the Spanish football is right now in a wonderful shape. We won the Euro Cup, we won as well the Women's World Cup. And I think this is the result of an amazing job carried out by La Liga clubs over the years, investing in their grassroots teams and investing in a very well-planned methodology. So I think right now we are getting the results of a lot of work of the last years.
It's been fantastic to watch, and I know under the leadership of Javier Tebas, it's been truly inspiring to see his dedication to the global expansion, and obviously the results on the pitch so maybe the Premier League should be taking some examples, I would say.
Let's see.
Emmanuel, in your opening you mentioned that integrity is the cornerstone for sustainable development. It's in the title of today's panel too. Can you just give us a bit of an explanation of how SIGA is working with sports organisations around the world to implement change and reform, and obviously here in Saudi, you know, what the role that the Saudis can play?
Thank you. That's a very important question, and yes, I agree with what you said. I heard what you said about Javier Tebas. The La Liga would not be what La Liga is. European football would not be what European football is without visionary leaders with foresight, leaders with strategic thinking, and leaders with the courage to make things happen. Javier Tebas, yo soy un amigo, soy sospecho, I'm suspect, but it is true, everything that I said. Yes, why the Spanish League is so popular, why it is one of the greatest in the world, and why the Spanish League was able to achieve this status in what, 10 years, 12 years? Yes, it was a lot of strategic thinking, it was a lot of hard work, but above all, it is because of the quality of the football that we see. It is because, I would say, the integrity, because without integrity, there is no global appeal, there is no market, there is no product, there is no commercial success. That is one. Secondly, a clear strategic vision that was capable of positioning the great product that La Liga serves and its athletes and its clubs across the world. Sharp, professional, accurate, strategic development of La Liga, transforming what was a smaller size league into a global phenomenon that is present in every corner of the world. And that's important for us because the Spanish League, for those who may not know, was one of the founding fathers of the Sport Integrity Global Alliance. And when I came to Madrid and spoke with Javier, I said, we need leading lights. We need champions, the same way that we need these great stars that we have in front of us. Because without those stars, without those leagues that are at the top of the chain, we will be in a more difficult position to inspire others, to incentivize and encourage others to do the same steps. So what we'll do, Katie, first of all, we designed the most advanced set of universal standards. That is much more than a Swiss Army knife. That is a toolkit that has all the solutions, all the antidotes to both the threats as well as a legitimate ambition to grow, to expand, and to continue to excel. In regards to good governance, in regards to financial integrity, sports betting integrity, youth development, stadium and security. And what for me is more appealing, and I look like a kid who's seen a toy for the very first time, is the ability to see what is beyond the curve, what is ahead of the curve, is to unveil all these fascinating sets of new developments, the technology, the robotics, the artificial intelligence, the new ways to consume sports, and the fan engagement and the fan experience. We are living a new era. We are entering into a new realm. And the opportunities are endless. That can only happen, however, if we safeguard the essence, if we protect the heart, and the heart and the soul is called integrity. And that is why SIGA works with a set of like-minded organizations, implementing the standards, providing training, education, and capacity building, providing also to the public opinion, to the governments, to the authorities, to the sponsors, those who invest their money and their reputation, ensuring that their investments are safe and those organizations are fit for purpose. Time does not allow me to go deeper, but trust me, we are here committed to serve, committed to work, committed to cooperate. And the opportunity is now.
And you've been doing a great job, I understand. You've got the first football club in Sao Paulo going through SIRVS.
Wow, sorry. In Sao Paulo is booming. Brazil is booming. We're talking about one of the greatest nations by all standards. It's 220 million inhabitants, fast-paced, technologically advanced country, leading the way, presiding to the G20 and the B20, crazy about football, crazy about sport, and joining hands with SIGA, adopting our universal standards, enhancing their governance, making sure that on the financial front, the roads to criminal infiltration, to money laundering, tax evasion are blocked so that sport can continue to grow and be worthy of the trust and the confidence of the people and the investors. The government also, one little note, it's important to understand and to inform. With the government, we have signed a series of cooperation agreements, as well as with the sponsors, with the biggest clubs. You mentioned Sao Paulo, and you can see things turning around and an evolution be brought to the heart of a country who has won for 5 times the World Cup.
Yes, it has, sir. And we had the Portuguese league go through our rating system, and obviously the invitation is ready for La Liga. But I want to get to Denzine. Denzine White, you are a founding member of SIGA, so thank you for being involved and supporting us from day one. How important is integrity to grow a sustainable international federation?
I think it's critically important. If you don't have integrity, then it's going to be difficult for you to become a recognized sport within the Olympic family of sports. It's difficult to attract sponsors, TV coverage, but also it's difficult to attract new members and to grow the sport as well. So this is something that we're pushing quite hard with our national federations. We're actually going through the recognition process now with Sport Accord, which is quite in-depth. And one of the messages we're sending to our members is, look, these integrity issues need to be addressed. You need to be able to demonstrate that you're a democratic organization, you have elections for your directors, that you have gender balance in the board, you have strategic plans, you have development for youth, safeguarding policies, ethics, commission, disciplinary, anti-doping. so that we can have fair sport on a level playing field. So the integrity question goes right across the sport in terms of good governance.
And we're here today, obviously, talking about infrastructure. So really, we're talking about the infrastructure, not just in terms of building buildings, but the infrastructure of the very sport itself in terms of good governance. And Simon, last but not least on the end, great to meet you. So you recently left FIFPro, so you've swapped Amsterdam for Riyadh, where you served as the Deputy Secretary General of FIFPro, and you relocated here to the Saudi Football Players Association. Can you give us and share some insight? What was your expectation of Saudi, and how has the reality compared?
Thanks, Katie. Thanks for being here. It's an honour. My initial expectation was to get some better weather, and I've succeeded there.
Check.
Yeah, check. But I was really intrigued more than anything around the 2030 vision. We see that many times, whether they be governments, organisations, partners, football clubs, they will develop a vision, it'll be on paper, but realising it is obviously where all the work is done. And I was intrigued to understand football's role, sport's role, at the elite level and the grassroots, and to see if it was really being brought to life. So my expectation was that in parts there was going to be debate on which areas. After being here for 6 months, one thing I've realised is that there clearly is a shared vision for the country. Now, when we talk about infrastructure, yes, for sport and football are playing a big role. There's a lot of emphasis on it with the World Cup bid and all of these elements, but it goes well beyond the elite and the elite players coming to play in the league. There needs to be a shared interest, and there is a shared interest in all of the actors coming together to ensure that that young 5-year-old has the infrastructure in place or has the facility in place to be able to go to the park and kick the ball and have a goal and so on and so forth, all the way up to the elite where you have the King's Cup final or a very important match or hopefully the World Cup final. So that balance and that shared interest and vision, each of the actors really need to come together. And so far, I've seen that the league, the clubs, the federation, the government, and of course coming in, and I've been pleasantly surprised of the role that the players have and the openness to having the players not only being consulted and decisions on the game or things being unilaterally imposed, but actually being at the table and discussing and developing the framework of how it can look. So I've been very, very pleased so far with that engagement.
Brilliant. So it's great to have so many international and regional guests to hear you say that, and obviously players as part of the stakeholder consultation process is a key part of good governance, so great to see that that is actually being implemented. Back to you, Maita. I was thrilled to read about the Riyadh season's 3-year sponsorship of the La Liga. It only happened or was publicly announced a couple of weeks ago. How vital is the Middle East, and in particular Saudi Arabia, for La Liga's global expansion?
It's actually one of the top strategic territories for us in the world. Actually, we opened the first international office here in the region back in 2014. We have right now 20 employees working physically in Iraq, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Jordan, Qatar, in many different countries. And it's very, very important because at the end, football here is the #1 sport. You can come here, especially in Saudi Arabia, and you can feel that passion for football. It's very similar of how Spanish people live the games. So something which is very particular here in the region that we try to focus a lot is that opposite to Europe, opposite to the US, half of the population here is less than 30 years old. So we really focus on engaging with these new generations, this Gen Z population. We launched a new vertical of contents produced locally here. We work with more than 40 content creators. We started last season to produce this for example, the first La Liga podcast in Arabic. We created some documentaries about the top games and many others, and the results have been amazing with more than 140 million views over the last season. So we will try to work very hard on that front. Speaking specifically about Saudi is, I would say, one of the top 3 countries in the region. For us, it's really, really strategic, not only because of the passion they have for football and for La Liga. Here, our numbers are amazing. Social media, TV viewership, it works amazing. But also because we really we are committed with the kingdom vision about investing in creating a very strong entertainment and sports and football industry. So that is one of the reasons why we partnered with Riyadh Season, and of course because we want to keep engaging with all these fans, all these visitors that will be traveling to Riyadh for all the many attractions and events that they will be celebrating during this season and the coming years. So we are very, very happy, and I think it's working really, really well.
So exciting. I don't know about anyone who arrived yesterday, but certainly I could really feel the excitement of the people greeting us, especially with the legends that we were bringing. So it was a great atmosphere. Emmanuel, SIGA has a strong presence in Europe, US, and in Latin America. I know you've done a heroic journey from Sao Paulo via Frankfurt to be here today. Where does Saudi Arabia fit in SIGA's global expansion?
Indeed, after having set up our European headquarters in Europe, after having expanded to North America with headquarters well equipped and agile and active in Washington, D.C., after the latest developments occurred only 2 years ago with the creation of SIGA Latin America, who is widespreading its positive influence throughout the continent, time has come for us to give this step and also to bring in not just Saudi Arabia, who will be very much welcome, but also the UAE, all the countries in the Gulf, and all the countries in Asia. Football and sport deal with global problems. They need global solutions, and they need a regional approach. And that is the role of SIGA. That is what SIGA is prepared to do. There is not one president of one football federation as the president of the AFC or any other sports leaders in this country or in Asia that does not know me. They know what me and they know what SIGA stands for. They know that we honor our word and we always deliver what we promise. We come to work collaboratively with all organizations. Certainly no one wants a sport governed in the 21st century as if we were still in the 19th century. We have to evolve. We have also to show, like we see here, the latest developments, the boldness, all this evolution, and that is what SIGA is. We are not alone. We are not alone. We are well equipped. As I said in my initial intervention, we work with over 200 sports organizations, independently, in a neutral fashion, and always focusing on the necessary reforms. As Saudi Arabia approaches 2034, we look forward to establishing a positive, constructive dialogue and cooperation with all relevant authorities so that we can also put, in terms of governance, in terms of accountability, transparency, and all the values that make the difference, that we can put also Saudi Arabia, the countries in the Gulf, and the whole Asia right there at the top, at the podium.
Great. Winning spirit. Simon, we mentioned infrastructure earlier, and it's obviously a key topic here today. How can we apply the theme of infrastructure to the football ecosystem, beyond physical infrastructure, but in terms of real player safety, to ensure that football is well governed and continue to grow in a sustainable way over in Saudi Arabia?
Well, thanks. It's a long-winded answer, I would say.
Go for
but
it.
I'll take Emmanuel's point about governance, integrity. These are fundamental instruments, or these are fundamental pillars of any governance system or any football system or sporting system for that matter. It doesn't only have to be football. But when we talk about football infrastructure specifically, and Emmanuel touched on innovation, fan experience, whether it's on the field or, at the stadium or watching it on TV, and all of these elements or these experiences. There is no better IP than the player's IP. The player has carried every single journey. The player is a fan. We know that because you need to be passionate about it. The player at one point in their lives was the little kid who was kicking the ball around in the park or in the backyard or at home. Then you go into the development pathways. They played at their clubs or through the elite pathways as young kids. So when you talk about the experience and the needs from a high performance perspective or from a playing perspective for the community, the players have it. Then you go to the elite element, and the players and the stadium is their workplace. And I know that Emmanuel speaks passionately about this, that the stadium needs to be safe and secure for anybody that goes near it, let alone that works on the field. And the players' IP about that stadium experience and being on the field and being able to perform and put that show on for the fans that are watching is vital. So I think the more stakeholders that engage the players in and around this, that infrastructure will evolve and it'll have that innovation. Then once that player finishes playing, and we've got some guests here that are former players, then it's the reflective time of, I only wish that as a player I could have had this in place to perform better for my fans or for my country or all this. So the IP that these guys have after they've spent so many hours focusing on training, and now that innovation space, a lot of it sits with them because they've lived it, they've felt it, it's been their whole life. So I implore every stakeholder, whether it's how to design a stadium, all the way down to what should a grassroots field look like, I implore them to go out there and engage players, current, former, future, and really get their insights to be able to build something sustainable for the future.
Fantastic, and that whole journey is just incredible that you explained. Denzine, the 2024 IMAF Junior and Senior World Championships took place just last week in Uzbekistan. How did it go? It seemed amazing from the outside. And, you know, what about here for the next one, hey?
Yes, I came directly from Tashkent yesterday, been there for almost 2 weeks. It was an amazing event. Uzbekistan is a young country, the population's very young, and they're investing huge money in sport. They're actually building a brand new Olympic park. I think they're planning to make a bid possibly for a youth Olympics in the future, or even the full Olympics. And it's an amazing facility which is finishing next March. But in terms of our event, it's the biggest World Championships we ever had. We had 70 countries participating, which is a record for us, and almost 700 athletes. And the good thing about it for me, a couple of good things, was the increase in the number of female participants. Because normally we have smaller female categories. They normally start on day 3 at the quarterfinal stage, because there are only, at that point, 8 athletes in the quarterfinal stages, but they actually started from the round of 16 this time, which is the first time that had happened. So it means those numbers are going up as well. It was pleasing to see some of the juniors and so many girls competing at junior level as well. And some of those had come through our performance pathways. There was one girl there that won the title at junior level. She's won 4 IMAF world titles because she was a youth world champion 3 times as well. So she's coming all the way through, and probably next year we'll see her competing at senior level. And then the other thing which was really pleasing was to see how many different countries were winning medals. So, it wasn't just a domination of Central Asia, although they were very dominant. Uzbekistan finished top of the medal table. Tajikistan were close behind them. Kazakhstan was probably in third place. Ukraine came in probably in fourth position. So very much an Eastern and Central Asian domination there. But there were many countries, even small ones, that were winning medals from Europe and Pan America, Brazil, Mexico, Americans were picking up a couple of medals, Belgium, the UK, even Africa. Angola is the country that surprised me the most. They had a world champion. One of the ladies became a world champion. Another one won a silver medal. They also had a gold medalist in the Youth World Championships that we had in Abu Dhabi during the summer. So, really amazing event. The viewing numbers were off the charts. I think we had 10 million views on the championships. The social media numbers have gone through the roof as well. So I'm really pleased with the championships overall.
Fantastic. And what about hosting it here in the future? Would you be up for it?
We'd love to host a big event in Saudi. We've been trying for a while. We have a federation here.
Yes.
And they do quite well at youth level. And that's what we're encouraging a lot of our federations to do, is concentrate on, grassroots development first and building youth, and then get the kids to come through that performance pathway. And Saudi did win a gold medal in our Youth World Championships in Abu Dhabi this year and last year.
Fantastic.
As well. So they do have talent, and we would love to have a big event here, World Championships or Asia Championships or a one-off Grand Slam event. We'd love to do it.
So you've heard it here first, Cityscape Global 2024, putting their bids in, ready for your new competition and championship. Maite, in this fast-paced changing world, what is the biggest integrity challenge facing European international football?
So I think Emmanuel was mentioning something very interesting, which is that global problems requires global solutions with regional approach, and I totally agree with this. We are right now very focused from La Liga on tackling one very important issue, which is piracy. And we really think that we need to join forces all together, meaning rights holders, broadcasters, governments, internet providers, the whole ecosystem, because otherwise we think that we will be facing a dramatic change in the, not football only, but the entertainment industry. But answering your question and speaking purely about integrity, I would like to highlight one, let's say, case study that La Liga has managed really, really well, which is the eradication of match-fixing issues in La Liga, in the professional competitions. We have zero tolerance with this problem, and right now in La Liga we don't have any problem, but we work in any other sports federations, and football as well, semi-professional. Again, fighting with this. How did we manage to eradicate completely this problem? Basically, thanks to three elements. One, technology. We developed in-house a tool called Taike, and we have an integrity department with 12 people. We use this tool to analyze live events in which sports vets are involved. And if we see if the system detects any strange behavior, any anomalous odds, it triggers an alarm that is analyzed by our experts in integrity in La Liga. And after an internal screen, let's say, it may reach to the national police in Spain. So number two is collaborating with the Spanish police, collaborating with the Spanish authorities. It's a 360 process. And the third element is to, we launched a lot of very relevant awareness campaigns with the young players, with not that young players. So it's a problem that we find the solution, but that is still it's there, and we need to fight it, all of us together.
Emmanuel, thank you. So Emmanuel, what's your take on those two issues for integrity? piracy and match fixing. Are they the biggest ones based on your experience in international football, at the helm of the World Leagues Association, but also as the CEO of the European Leagues, and also what you're finding with SIGA when you're supporting sports organisations?
Yeah. You cannot have a scale to measure the gravity and the damage caused by A, match fixing, B, digital piracy, C, corruption, D, money laundering, doping. These threats are everywhere and they will always be. What we need to do is to be proactive, be attentive, and avoid missing the opportunity. It is by safeguarding the integrity of sport, anticipating the challenges, that we avoid the consequences. And that means this is not an effort to be taken on board by only one stakeholder. It's not La Liga, it's not the Premier League, it's everyone, every competition organizer, every right holder needs to soldier to protect. In this case, is not just the economic viability of sport, and that would be already a lot, because without the ability to safeguard its own IP rights, without the ability to monetize the investments that results from the commercial exploitation of its competition, sport, any sport, ceases to have the ability to organize competitions, to deliver training and education and youth development. It ceases to have the ability to support social responsibility projects. Look to how much sport is doing to mitigate some of the pain and some of the trauma our society is facing. For all that, it's not magic, it's resources. And in this particular case, what sport asks is not favor from the political establishment. It's merely that lawmakers, governments, law enforcement protect the basis of its economic viability, their daily bread. Yeah. Equally, in terms of match fixing, we are dealing with transnational organized crime, increasingly. So there is no room, there is no possibility to be naive. We cannot expect to win this fight without giving a step forward and without doing what is at stake. There is no time for fragmentation. There is no time for navel gazing. There is no time for attitudes of denial. You know? If we throw the towel into the ground, that's game over. And sport is equipped, sport has the legitimacy, sport has the mean, sport has the experience, and each one of us, as individuals who love sport, who love to see our team win, but above all, want to see our team winning with honor, with integrity. It is time for us to give a step forward, and SIGA is here to do what it takes and to be with you fighting the good fight.
A couple of minutes left. Simon, I know you want to comment on that.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow on from Emmanuel's point around the match-fixing piece specifically. And there is no doubt that it is a problem. It is a global problem. However, without the players at the table developing the resolution towards it, what we see way too often is that the stakeholders will come together, whether it be governing body, government, police forces, and all of this, and they will regulate and develop the sanction process and all of this. However, the players are at the coalface of it. They are sitting at their clubs, and we know for many parts of the world, we see that players go without getting paid for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. That's when players are vulnerable. So I would implore that discussion to include the players not as consulting with the players to consult and regulate, but to genuinely hear from the players to understand what that process is, how it can be fixed, how it can be resolved, to ensure that when you get to you don't have the issue. We need to cut it at the base before it grows. So I just wanted to touch on that. The other part is that sports' responsibility to social causes and responsibilities. I'm a former player. No one in the community wants to see me putting on a football clinic or me putting on something. They want to see the players and the recently retired players and those profile players. So again, it is central to the players, for governing bodies, for leagues, for federations, to impose these requirements on the athletes without the athlete being able to develop them together with them and say, look, when I go out there, if you want me to engage the community, this is how I get the feedback. You need to integrate that into all of those programs that go out. I think it's just vital that players are at the centre of this.
Excellent point. We are running over time, but I just do want to, there's many women in the audience, so greetings to you all, and I just wanted to, on a final note, speak to you about your career, just, you know, in the top of Rising Star, obviously at La Liga, and obviously from a SIGA Women perspective, we run a global mentorship program for female leaders in the industry, which I invite all the women who are involved in sport to join us. We're growing strong. We're aiming for 1,000 next year. What are your top 3 tips for anyone wanting a career in sport?
So I would think, first of all, to stay very confident on yourself. I think we are in an industry that it's not very big, so there's not a lot of job openings, so it means it's very competitive, and of course it's very male dominated. So I think it's very important to advocate for yourself and to trust on your abilities, on your knowledge. I would say this is number 1, not only for the sports industry, but for life in general, but I think it's especially important. Number 2, I would say it's important to look for supportive mentors, meaning people that can inspire you, because I think that what you can think is something impossible, 99% of the case, there is someone that have already done that before. So I think it's very good to look for like inspiring examples. And number 3, taking into consideration that we are in a very competitive industry, I think it's very important to have a really wide knowledge of the sports industry. So if you are working in marketing, I think it will be also very important that you know about club licensing, or if you work in fan engagement, it will definitely help that you know about broadcasting. So the more you know, the highest is the competitive advantage that you can have with respect to others. This is only 3, but we can, give a lot more.
So to summarize, advocate for yourself, get a good mentor, and know your topic.
I would say so.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Well, I think all of our guests here, they knew their topic. Big round of applause. Thank you very much for joining us. And if you want to find out more about SIGA to join our global movement, please contact myself and Manuel Julie and join us. We need all of you. Thank you very much.